After a record-breaking performance at the Pasquotank Albemarle Sound Elite Series event by Kyle Welcher, that was something else. I don't think we're ever going to see a display of dominance quite like that again. Pretty exciting stuff. Now we're moving to South Carolina, to Lake Hartwell, a place. So we're going from a place we knew nothing about to a place that we know a lot about. And is this where the home state, does Patrick Walters get back on track? Does he get another blue trophy here? He's done very well on Hartwell. Usually does very well in South Carolina. Be fun to watch. Do these knowledgeable herring chaser experts like Walters, Brandon Cobb, HellaBass, do they serve court and do they dominate on Hartwell? Or do the young anglers, technology, is this herring shad spawn bite going to be wide open? And I think it's going to be a fun tournament to watch. Let's dig into this and how it sets up. Before we do that, let's talk about who won the Beat HellaBass groups from the previous week at the Pasquotank River. Checking out the Beat HellaBass group. A. Almich was the winner in the traditional fantasy fishing game with almost 1,500 points. Awesome job. Reached out to you, sent an email, check your inbox, check your spam. I want to hear back so I can get you your Omnia Pro prize. For Drain the Lake, T Duck Co., we're all set. Got you lined up for your Omnia Pro prize. Congratulations. Nice week on the Pasquotank River. Checking our overall leaderboard here. Clayton Terry leading the pack in the front row seat for the Omnia gift card. Hopefully, Clayton, you've got your Omnia Pro and you're good to go, and you'll be doubling up on that contingency program for that big gift card at the end of the year. As well as LA Rams fishing team, B. Johnson, sitting in the driver's seat in Drain the Lake. Likewise, hopefully you got your Omnia Pro. If you don't, you can use code HBPRO to save 50% off your Omnia Pro subscription. And anybody else that wants to jump in on it can get it as well. Just a reminder, Omnia Pro is a great add-on to your already free Omnia fishing app where you can get 10% back rewards, and they're actually running double rewards for Pro members this week, which is super sweet. You get water temps, you get layers, you get free shipping, no minimum order, you get depth contours, vegetation maps, in-stock alerts, private sales, so much more. It's totally worth the money each year for Omnia Pro, so check it out. And if you're a little apprehensive, just try the 7-day free trial. I'll put links down in the description, as well as the discount code for anybody that wants to check it out, whether you're watching on YouTube or any other platform. If you're not interested in Omnia Pro, there is a discount code down below that you can use on just about anything Omnia has. Check out their great products, great customer service, and fast shipping. Now let's talk about Lake Hartwell and how it's going to set up. Lots of data, lots of fishing reports for Lake Hartwell, so this is exciting to be able to dig into this. A lot of different things in the pie, things that are playing this time of year in the spring, early summer. Reports for largemouth bass, spotted bass. We both know everybody knows those play really well. Looking at fishing reports, sounds like the spawn is starting to wind down as we get into late April, and the herring spawn is starting to take off. So there's a lot of different things happening on the lake right now. You're seeing people catching them on wobbleheads, on topwaters, bladed jigs, flukes, shaky heads, craws, senkos. It's just a lot of stuff going on here. Largemouth, spotted bass, different areas of the lake's fighting. So that should be really exciting to see. Lake Hartwell is a huge playing field. People can go way up the Seneca, way up the Tupelo rivers. The area down by the dam is really huge. You can see a lot of these arms are well into the 60s, and the spawn has been going on for quite some time, especially upriver. I do think, we get up here, you got a lot of post spawn going on potentially, and as you go down to the main part of the lake, you probably got some fish lingering on bed. So I definitely could see a lot of things happening. I think you could see anglers that are sight fishing specialists focusing on the lower end of the lake, looking at spawning bass, and you could have anglers focusing on shad spawn, herring spawn, doing all that kind of stuff, or maybe just mixing up that game plan altogether. So I think whether you want to look for shallow anglers that are going to go way up the river and fish for largemouth, or if you got people that are going to sight fish, those late spawners on the low end, and people that are really good with electronics, chasing that top water, chasing all those different bites mid-lake and all the way around the lake, and guys that are just really good at mixing it all up could be really good options here. There's our Omnia breakdown supported by Omnia Pro. So after a great classic getting back into the light green, we kind of stalled out and had a pretty mediocre tournament at the Pasquotank. Kind of surprised that Walters kind of let me down. The guys that I thought would really catch him on my team, like Hackney and Patrick Walters, are the guys that let me down. And the risks like Luke Palmer and Stetson Blaylock were the guys that I thought were a little bit more of dark horse picks, those are the guys that showed out for me in this event. So let's see if we can get back on track. I feel pretty good about my lineup for Hartwell this week. So we're going to do fantasy fishing, traditional team picks. Then we're going to get into the pick'em game, finish up with Drain the Lake, and talk about tiebreakers for Lake Hartwell. As always, I like to start in bucket D. Some interesting options here. Matt Erie off to a slow start for this year. Mark Frazier definitely has got some experience. His brother Micah had a top 10 back in the FLW back in the day. You know, I suspect guys like Gustafson, Hackney, there's a lot of good anglers in this bucket, Loberg, that are not having great seasons, but I think electronics-wise, Wesley Gore is going to get back on track. He's too good of an angler. He was top 10 AOY last year. The Florida didn't do well. He didn't do that great at the Pasquotank, but I think this week, Wesley Gore does well on Hartwell, gets his season back on track. If you're looking for somebody else, I definitely need a lower percentage. I wouldn't sleep on Andrew Loberg. Jason Williamson definitely knows Hartwell, so if you're looking for a local angler, potentially look at him. You know, guys like Ben Milliken could do well here. Lots of good options. If that largemouth bite goes off up the rivers, you know, Hackney could be a nice factor as well. Bucket D, we got Brandon Cobb, who won the last time Elite Series here, was in 2019. That was early April. It was mostly a betting bite. JT Tompkins, Robert Key, Cody Huff. He's been really good with his electronics, got lots of experience. You know, I think this is a tournament that guys can junk fish. Guys like Gerald Swindle. You know, I think there's a lot of good options here. Tim Doobie, the nation champ, he actually won in the fall in Hartwell. That's how he got into the Elite Series. But in the end, I think Easton Fothergill says this is his favorite lake in the country. So I'm going to keep going with the Fothergill. He let me down in Florida, but he was great in the Classic. I should have picked him at the Pasquotank. I think he keeps the momentum rolling here and is a pretty safe pick in bucket D. But, you know, if you're looking for home field advantage, I would definitely go Brandon Cobb here. Bucket C, we got the defending champ from Grand Lake, Hamner. You know, Jordan Lee, Stetson Blaylock was second to Cobb back in the early April last time. Brian New, now a South Carolina guy, probably has access to Lake Hartwell, probably done his homework. If it's a shallow bite, Hunter Shryock could be strong here. If we've got lingering sight fish, you know, Drew Benton, Dakota Ebear is probably going to catch him here. Good options. Jacob Prosnick, you know, probably skip his wacky rig around, get some bites. So some pretty solid options here in bucket C. The way that the Elite Series has rolled out, we got pretty good anglers distributed through the field here. We got a two-time Classic champion in Jordan Lee, but Emil Wagner, if you don't know, he pretty much splits his guiding 50% between Lake Lanier and Lake Hartwell. He is very in tune here. He fished a Major League Invitational several weeks ago, cashed a decent check, but now that we're getting close to that herring spawn, I think he's going to potentially be dominant here. He won an All-American here, so Emil Wagner has to be licking his chops. I know he was disappointed when the Bassmaster Opens moved off Hartwell last year and went to Alabama instead. So look for Emil Wagner to make a splash here, and at 12% is a pretty solid value. After a not great event at the Pasquotank for my team in bucket A, Patrick Walters has slid down to bucket B. Definitely intriguing there. Jason Christie has had his success at Lake Hartwell, won a Classic, won an FLW event there, but most of those were March events. So will that play? Will that be different here? Corey Johnson slipped down here. Drew Cook, if you're looking at, you know, late spawning fish. Polinick, I think could be good. Tucker Smith, he seems like it would fit well for him. Jacob Fouts. I mean, all these guys could do really well here. Some interesting options to look at here in bucket B. And as much as I want to pick Patrick Walters and as much as I've relied on him, I'm going to go Paul Marks. Paul Marks, Cummings, Georgia, has had his share of success in mostly really solid tournaments on Lake Hartwell. A lot of BFL, MLS style tournaments. Look for him to be strong. I think he kind of runs in the same circles as Emil Wagner, so I wouldn't be shocked if he has a really strong tournament here. So if you're looking for a value pick there at less than 5%, Paul Marks is strong. Finally, bucket A. Trey McKinney should fit up for his strengths really well. I'm sure he's put his homework in here. Most of these guys, John Cox has won events here earlier in the season. Shane LeHue, no stranger to Hartwell, probably one of his favorite lakes. Will Davis Jr. knows how the herring work. He won a national championship here for the Bass Nation. So many good anglers here that you could look at. Cody Meyer visited here a lot back in the MLF days. Plenty of points and brush piles for Tyler Williams to drag his jig in. Jake Whitaker, way up in AOI, neighboring state. Logan Parks. So many good options here in bucket A. But I find myself wanted to go with Jay Shakurit. Now, there's not much data here for Jay Shakurit. He fished once here as a co-angler, just missed a check in a Bassmaster Open. But Jay just seems to catch him everywhere he goes. Like, I don't see why Jay doesn't catch him here. Other than one bad finish in a Bassmaster Open in lacrosse, he basically hasn't finished outside of the top 30 in any tournaments in almost like 2 years. So I'm going Jay Shakurit. Let's get on over to the pick'em. I'll be honest, I didn't really look into this one, so we're just going to do this one off the right off the bat here, just off the top of our heads. Jordan Lee versus Jason Christie, 2 past Hartwell Classic champs going head-to-head. I think this time of year, I'm going Jordan Lee. Garrett versus Will Davis Jr. Will Davis Jr. is tied for AOI with John Garrett. This is a really tough matchup. Will Davis seems got a little bit of momentum here. He's got the experience for sure. We'll go Will Davis. Brandon Cobb versus Patrick Walters. Clemson versus Carolina. Both of them have got wins and lots of top finishes here. I think, oh man, that's a tough one. I think you just got to go Walters based on how their season's going. Either one of these anglers could definitely win this event, have a top 10 finish on Sunday, but based on Patrick Walters being, you know, much higher in AOI and Brandon Cobb struggling, I'm going to go with Patrick Walters just based on momentum and confidence. There's the Herring Mastins, Paul Mark versus Emil Wagner. I'm going with my Powerhouse Lithium guy, Emil Wagner. Welcher versus Polnick. You know, elite champs, not on this fishery, but 2 that have won elite championship or won tournaments this year. Welcher's fishing Norman this week. So it's interesting that Pasquotank River and now Welcher's fishing the MPFL this week at Norman, and then Braun Polnick has the week off. Do we want an angler with multiple wins and a week of rest, or do we want somebody that's coming fresh off a victory, going to Lake Norman, staying hot? I'm going to go Welcher. I'm going to ride the momentum here, thinking that if he keeps fishing, he'll be in tune with what the fish are doing, and he's going to be doing well. Jay Shakurit versus Redwine. I'm going to go Jay Shakurit here. Sophomore standoff pile. Patrick versus Tyler Williams. Another two Powerhouse Lithium guys. Ooh, that's a tough one. Both really good tournaments at Pasquotank. Both having really good seasons. The jig gets the bigger bite. Let's go with Tyler Williams. Rolling on through to Drain the Lake. Let's pick our roster. Doing much better in Drain the Lake. 99%. I'm hanging in there in the top 250 some participants. So let's keep that going here. I'm going to take Stetson Blaylock. Taking Brandon Cobb. I do think there'll be enough spawning fish here to keep Drew Cook interested in the mix. We'll take Shane LeHue. KJ Queen's having a tough season, but I got him slotted in here. Going Hunter Shryock and Jake Whitaker. And we can't forget about Emil Wagner for this tournament. So with 76 pounds, 3 ounces, I think it's going to be in the mid-70s, between 70 and 80 pounds for the win. We're going to go Stetson Blaylock, Brandon Cobb, Drew Cook, Shane LeHue, KJ Queen, Hunter Shryock, Jake Whitaker, and Emil Wagner for our Drain the Lake team. I think this will be another exciting. I think we're going to see topwater plugs. I think we're going to see jerkbaits. I think we're going to see flukes. I think we're going to see bedding fish. I think we'll see a lot of different things at Lake Hartwell. Should be a great event to tune into Bassmaster Live. If you want to learn a little bit more about Omnia Pro and how to join the Beat HellaBass group, you can find the information down below, or you can check out this video on the screen right here next.